So Project Evolve started quite a long time ago, sort of back in 2016. We were in an environment where we were very reactive. So over the previous sort of 10 to 15 years, we developed an approach, particularly around online safeguarding and online safety, but also more broadly to digital literacy. We developed a very reactive approach. So we'd see issues arising, and then we developed resources to try and ameliorate those or educate children away from them. We developed a very simple soundbite type educative culture around it. So, you may be familiar with some of these yourselves, like don't, stop, block, all of those things, avoid. But also on top of those, there were some messages that came out that weren't very sophisticated. They certainly didn't resonate with children and young people. They actually didn't resonate with us. So if you think of some of those messages, don't share private information online, that sounds like a really good bit of advice. But actually, if you hold that piece of advice up right now into the environment we see around it, actually it flies in the face of what everybody does and how people want to use this technology as an enabler. And actually, this thing about private information is a really important one, because at certain times of your life, if you're a burgeoning teen, you're out in the world, you're trying to discover who you are, what your sociality is, to find your tribe. You're discovering your own social demographic. In some cases, you're actually beginning to experiment and discover your own sexuality. Now, these are risks, but they're risks that we've always taken over the thousands of years of human development. It's no different online. Actually, we don't want to reduce risk. We want to reduce harm, and that's very, very different. So empowering children and young people to see beyond these bite-sized little messages into something more sophisticated, and that this journey, educative journey you're on, grows depending on your own stage of development, what you need and how old you are, is a really important insight. So on this journey that we've been on, there's, even with a long history, and there's some great schemes of work out there that have been out there for a long time and that educators have drawn on. There was only a small amount of evidence that the things we were doing were having any effect on the culture. Children were very good at barking back the messages that you taught them about don't, stop, block, all of these things. But then they go home and do exactly the opposite. So we were very interested in achieving those positive outcomes and to move from a reactive state into a much more proactive state. We began to find that, with some of the problem areas that we found, so we talk about this as a problem area, don't we? That children's use of technology presents us with problems. And very often we see it as a teen thing, and very often sometimes as a boy or a girl thing. It isn't. It's societal. So that's why we built this progressive system that is age appropriate, developmental appropriate, but also it has a progression that builds on. I think that's the right way to change education, rather than producing the latest poster or the next leaflet or something that you can shove into their hands once those behaviours have been established. So Project Evolve aims to try and tackle that problem.